Okay, welcome to the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jess, I'm a sales coach and leadership expert, and I'm really excited to bring one of my favourite people and favourite former clients and favourite docties onto the podcast, the lovely Julie Dennis. You are back for the second time.
I know, I'm a repeat visitor, yeah.
We were talking last week about repeat business. Here it is, right?
Yeah, this is how it works, guys.
So if you hear a little bit of a change in my voice today, me and Julie were just laughing about this. I have had an ear infection, which is obviously very glamorous. For those of you who are squeamish, hit the pause button or the fast forward button. But basically, I've got a ton of pus in my ear and in my face. Yeah, it's nice and gross.
Really gross.
And it means that I can't actually smile. I do honestly look very lopsided and a little bit like I've had a stroke. So if I do sound a little bit odd, it's just because I can't move my mouth properly. But the lovely Julie has agreed to come on and keep me company with my newfound facial features. And we're going to be talking about the journey to sales success, because we've kind of looked at the industry and noticed that the trend is people will give you the outcome. They'll always talk about, I made 100K in 6 months, or I did this in so much time. And so they're quite happy to talk about the $1 million they're making a minute. And they're also quite happy when they're at the $1 million a minute mark to talk about the problem that they may have experienced in the beginning. But people aren't always able to talk about the journey as it's ongoing or when it's actually fresh in their mind. So what I'm trying to do is restore some of the faith for some of you guys out there who are thinking, actually, sales is really hard and it's all right for you, Jess. You can sit on your podcast, you can tell me to do all this stuff. But the reality is that doing the stuff makes me nervous, and I want to see a real human being who's made it work. So that's why I brought Julie on, because Julie is a real human being. Congratulations.
I am, I promise.
And also has been somebody who's had a really, really interesting journey in the online world, and in terms of, selling and not being in a money-making niche. So
not selling would probably be closer to the truth, yeah.
Tell everybody, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I am a menopause coach and consultant. And what I do is help organisations manage the impact of menopause in the workplace to improve the working experience for women across the UK, leading to increased productivity, reduced absenteeism and reduced presenteeism. So I work predominantly with organisations. And
that's a huge thing, isn't it, to note at the start, because everyone's like, oh, is it different working with organisations and people and, individual business owners? And yes, the reality is that you are going to face some differences. But I think probably the biggest thing that is prevalent with organisations is that actually the lead time is so much longer. So you have to do an awful lot of pre-work.
You do,
start seeing these big results. And this is one of the interesting things. And one of the interesting things about your journey is that you went from working with individuals to actually choosing the longer lead time with organisations. So let's talk about that a little bit. What was your biggest struggle? Like when we first met, what was your biggest struggle?
My biggest struggle was that nobody was buying. Literally, I'd reached a point. I'd had a few sales in the past. I'd sold a couple of VIP programs. I'd done some intensive, but people had literally stopped buying for me. I was pushing out loads of content, loads of really good content. Had a lot of super fans, Facebook group of about 600 people, list of 1,000, fairly engaged list too. If I asked them questions, they'd respond. But nobody would buy from me. And I was so frustrated. God, it used to drive me mad because, I've always been really good at everything. Did well at school, can play the piano, pretty good at sports. And now I had something where I was doing all the stuff that everybody was telling me to do, but it wasn't working. And I was furious, actually. I was furious with myself. I was furious with my tribe. And funnily enough, not selling anything.
I remember having that phone call with you when you were at the end of your tether.
I was literally. I thought I'm just going to have to stop this and go back to work. I'm going to have to go and get a proper job because I just can't do this. And I thought that everybody around me could do it. I really believed all the stuff that I was reading online, that everybody else, not necessarily that they were making 100K, but they were making enough to live off. And I felt like a failure. I really did.
And this is the huge thing, right? Because I say this to people and everyone goes, yeah. And I'm just like, I've been through that phase where I felt like a failure because I'd come from sales. I'd come from a sales background and I still couldn't do it. Yeah. And I was like, hang on a minute. I've spent 10 years selling stuff for other people. And then it came to selling stuff for myself and I did okay. And then I just had a really, really crap period not doing well. And I was just like, great, I'm living off pot noodles and this is not the dream that I kind of left my nice cushy salary for. So what was the big frustration, or well, not the big frustration for you, but what were the kind of things, because you were doing an awful lot. Like when we had this conversation that you were at the end of your tether, like I say, you were creating a ton of great content, but you had everything that we are supposed to have.
Precisely, yeah. The list, the Facebook group, I was in contact with them regularly. I was doing the Facebook lives. I was hanging around in other groups, you know, being useful and helpful. Literally everything that I was supposed to do, I was doing. And it made no sense to me that nobody wanted to buy my stuff. Whether it was expensive, whether it was 50 quid or £1,000, literally no one would buy from me.
And this is the thing though, isn't it? And I know that people sometimes, they'll come to me and say, it's all right, Jess, you work in a money-making niche. Nobody can make money in a non-money making niche now. Back then, is that how you felt?
Yeah, I did. I thought, you know what, women just aren't going to spend money on their health. That's what I was saying to myself and to you as well, which is obviously a lie, because look how much money the weight loss business makes. And that is about health as much as anything else. But that's it. Nobody's going to spend money on menopause. They think all the information should be for free. They're just not going to spend their money, or maybe they're just not going to spend their money with me. But whatever, it wasn't working. And I was really upset.
But I think that's normal, you know, it is normal. And then obviously you came to me and you were like, look, I'm really hacked off. I don't think you used those exact words, I'll be honest. Like,
it was probably a bit more sweary than that, to be honest.
It was not PG. And, you know, you came to me and you were like, I'm really hacked off and I'm going to give it this one last go.
Yeah, it literally was. You were my last, what is it? You're my last resort, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Jess Kenobi.
Obi-Wan one cheek.
Yeah, my final hope, yeah.
But it's that kind of thing. You came to me and you were like, right, this is it. This is the last ditch attempt, or that's it. It's kind of getting the chop. And I said, okay, because we did New Year, New Start with you, didn't we? We were like, right, okay, Christmas, let's just suck it off, have a good Christmas, enjoy that. Let's come back in January and really work on a new strategy and get rid of all the stuff that you're frustrated by. So talk to me about the process here, because you were putting an awful lot of faith in me, really. And as much as I'd like to say that I'm, you know, a miracle worker and everything I touch, God, it's not necessarily true. Like, nobody's calling me Jesus over here. Water into wine. If I could do that, I'd be a rich woman.
Well, you know, I've been hanging around you a lot online, and what I really liked was your straight talking, practical advice, and the fact that you were completely open and honest about the fact that it hadn't worked out for you to start with, that with some of your other clients it hadn't been an overnight success. Some of them have had an overnight success, you know, people like Jen Hall, Sam Barefoot. They've made a lot of money very quickly and their business has skyrocketed. But for other of your clients it took longer. So I was reassured by your honesty, and I didn't feel that in any way that you were making promises that you couldn't keep. And I also got the impression, and I know that it's absolutely true, that you would be totally invested in me and my business. So when we were working together, it wasn't like I was working with a coach, although you were telling me what to do and I was doing it. It was like I had a business partner. It was like you had some skin in the game in my business. That's how you made me feel. And that was different from any, you know, because I have worked with a couple of other coaches in the past and they have been useful to me in various ways. But the difference with you was that I felt that you actually had skin in the game. It was almost like you were a shareholder.
Yeah, I'm the shareholder that's like, where's the money? Where's all the cash coming from? It is that kind of thing. And I think sometimes we all need somebody to be the partner. Sometimes we just need somebody to be like, right, okay, what's going on? Give the objective perspective. And the thing that I was really excited about working in your business was that actually you were somebody who deserved to do well. I see a lot of people online who are like, I'm doing the work. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing? And they're like, well, you know, today I wrote in a Facebook group about my offer. I'm like, right, okay. Or today I participated in a promo thread. Today I looked on Twitter to see if there's anyone I could help with the same hashtag. You know, and you actually were working your ass off. You were doing the right things. You were doing things that everyone had told you to do. And it wasn't, something for you wasn't clicking. And, you know, there's always a little bit of like, oh, that's a challenge, that's nice. I think it's really bloody unfair when we come online and everyone's like, yeah, you just do these things. You just get an email list, you just get a Facebook group, and then you make money. And when you do that stuff and you actually do it well and you invest time and energy and money into doing it well, and then you don't get the return, that is unfair.
It is. It's like a stab in the heart, you know. You take it personally. You really do.
Me too. And every single person, and I will say this for all of the group owners and people out there who won't say it, but every single person who sits in your free group or on your email list, who emails you about questions, who asks for freebies, you know, wants to sit on a free coaching call, but never invests a penny.
Yeah.
You're like, screw you.
Yeah, that's it. You know, absolutely. At the end, I'm not running a social enterprise. You know, maybe I will in the future, but at the moment, what I'm doing is running a business, and you know, that requires people to give me money in order for me to give them the information to get better. Yeah.
And this is the thing. And I'm like, you don't have to buy from me every week. You don't even have to buy from me every year. But don't take the time away from other people who are prepared to invest their time and energy into learning, into putting in action, their money, all this kind of stuff, when actually you're not prepared to do anything to change your health or your relationship or your life or your business or whatever it is, because you're just lying to yourself and you're lying to me, you know.
You know, precisely. And so when we started working together, the first thing we did was start putting out posts along those lines. You know, do you want some help or not? If you want, you know, being open and honest about this is what I've got, or, you know, doing some research, what do you need help with specifically? Then making an offer with that specific piece of help. And when people weren't buying, going back to them again and saying, okay, why aren't you buying? And, you know, so we did the research and they still weren't buying. It didn't matter what we did. You know, we went down every avenue. And what you did for me, I mean, I've been dabbling in working with organisations, but I wasn't prepared to commit to it. So what you did for me was you allowed me to, makes you sound like my mum, but you allowed me to let go of the part of my business that for whatever reason wasn't working. And in the end, it didn't matter why it wasn't working. It just wasn't. And I just had to let it go, let my Facebook group go, let the list go, and focus on what I really wanted to do, which was to work with organisations. So I did, you know, what I did while everybody else was going right, as Helen Packham says, I went left, you know. So everybody, pretty 99% of entrepreneurs are doing the Facebook group thing and the list and the Facebook Lives and all that stuff. And you gave me the courage to go the other way and go, stuff Facebook, I don't even like it anyway. I'm going to start hanging out on LinkedIn. You know, forget the individuals. They're going to have to take care of themselves because I can't. I'm going to go and work in organisations where they do want to invest in their employees and their health. So you gave me the courage to do that, to let go of the stuff that I wasn't enjoying and wasn't working and step into the arena where I felt much more comfortable and where people have actually started to give me money.
It's crazy, isn't it, how that happens?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's also one of the reasons why GDPR is not phasing you at all. You're just like, well, no, my list is gone.
Exactly.
I'm not doing anything that I should be doing. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? You know, I think the process was a really interesting one with you because in some ways it was about unlearning all the stuff you'd already learned. You know, so we removed a lot of the tools that we should, in inverted commas, using. You know, we obviously gave them a good trial, like you're saying about your Facebook group, but the reality was they weren't working and you didn't enjoy it. So
that's it. Yeah. I know, and that's it. I was just like, I have to make this work. I have to make this work. And you're like, why? I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Why do I have to make this work when it's making everyone miserable? You know, just move away from that.
Suffer. So let's talk about the process then. What was your biggest breakthrough? Like when it came to selling and what you think kind of tripped the point of, oh, I'm not selling anything to actually now this is working. What was it that clicked for you?
Okay, so it was the thing, you know, if it's not working, try something else. You know, if you give it a good try, be prepared to step away. And equally, if you're not enjoying it, step away as well. You know, that's really, really important. You've got to enjoy it. There's no point in running your own business if you don't enjoy it. You might as well go back to being an employee again. I realised I was selling to the wrong people. And it didn't matter. The why was not important. It's just the fact that it was broken and I need to fix it and go in a different direction. And we started looking at organisations and started looking at using the telephone.
That old-fashioned thing that no online entrepreneur ever wants to see.
Exactly, and not using the telephone for social media or email or texting or WhatsApp or whatever, but for using the telephone to actually speak to people, create a rapport, build a relationship really quickly and convert that into a sale. Yeah.
And this is a really interesting one for me because everyone, I got into like some hot water on LinkedIn the other day for saying that I really used to like cold calling. And in fact, when I go in and work with organizations now, I do training on cold calling and I will go in and I will say, okay, who's the client you're trying to break into that has the hideous gatekeeper or the point of contact that just hates you? let's give me their number and let's put this to the test, and I'll do it on speakerphone. And thankfully 9 times out of 10 it works, and that other awkward time we just don't speak about. I'm joking. But how was it, moving over to a model that actually it kind of feels like marketing in 1999, back to fax machines and phone calls and actual.
No, I'm not going to lie. It was terrifying, and I really, really didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. But do you know what? I paid you money to help me to make my business work, so I've got to follow through, right? So I did. I started using the telephone. It wasn't always a completely cold call. I might have connected with them on LinkedIn or emailed them first of all. But actually getting somebody on the phone when they've shown an interest in your services is by far the quickest way to find out exactly what it is that they want. Then you can quickly customize your offer if you need to in order to help them out. And you can get the sale in the bag really quickly. It's really, really transformed my business. And, I was terrified the first few times. But now I really enjoy the conversation, and I had one this morning. It was as a result of an organisation that had actually found me, because organisations are coming to me now rather than me having to trace them down all the time. And her email was, hello, we're interested in running a menopause workshop. What are your rates and services and availability? And this time last year, I would have emailed her back with an email with my rates and services and availability. But no, I just sent her a one-liner back saying, hi, great to hear from you. Let's jump on the phone and talk through some options. Are you free to talk at, whatever times? Be really specific with your times. And she came back and was like, yeah, let's talk, at 11:30 this morning. We jumped on the phone and I've sent out a proposal to her this afternoon. It was that quick. Whereas if I'd sent her an email back, I wouldn't have known really what she wanted. I wouldn't have had a clue what her budget was or what her background was or the amount of people. And you can just get so more information so much more quickly.
And this is the thing, I think email for me has been the death of personalities.
Yeah,
it really has. And the amount of clients that I've seen you turn around who've come back to you and been like, oh, actually, we're going to go in a different direction, or actually, we're thinking about this, or actually thinking about that. Watching you step up and be like, I'm just going to give them a call and find out. And then you've subsequently either turned it around into something different, or you've got the answer or the feedback that you really want. Has been amazing, because usually in the online space, we don't get that. People just unsubscribe, or they leave the list, or they leave you a shitty comment on a business page or whatever.
Had that.
Me too. But it's that kind of thing that it is brilliant watching you take the sales process.
Thank you. And it's all you have to do is just check these people out on LinkedIn before you call them. And you might have been brought up in the same area. You might have worked in the same company. There's usually some kind of tenuous connection in their profile that you can, bring up on the telephone call, again, to help with that rapport building.
Yeah, I mean, I stuck basic French on my LinkedIn profile.
Did you?
I speak very basic French.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that when I used to cold call and other people had like French on their thing, like, so you speak French. How much French do you actually speak though? And they'd be like, oh, I got to like A level. What about you? And I'd be like, I can ask for the nearest McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or tequila slammer.
Yeah. Just like a tequila, yeah.
Okay, great. You're obviously cultured. Let's chat. It is that kind of thing where you can build relationships much, much quicker. And I think you have the ability to do that. You're somebody who is really personable. And so for me, it made much more sense to get you out and about in front of people, and
that's it. Your training, Jess, is, again, it's customized to what your client needs. So you weren't taking me through your 3-step model. I didn't get a sense that, we were on step 1, 2, 3, 4, wherever we were. You're like, this is the person you are. This is the business that you want to build. So these are the steps that you need to take. Yeah. It was very
100%,
personal.
100%. So what's changed about business now? Because obviously we know life and business, and it is less than 6 months ago, was not the most fun period for you.
No, it wasn't. Business was horrible. And like I said, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to go and get a bloody job again, which is what I really, really didn't want to do. So how is it different now? I've got a steady trickle of clients. I've got a pipeline with actual business in the pipeline. Organisations are contacting me because I'm now getting referrals. And I have at least one conversation each week with a decision maker or influencer. I'm much more relaxed. I'm not working as many hours as I was because I'm not having to pump out all this content that I thought I had to pump out, because that's not what my business requires. And I'm much more focused. At the beginning of the year, I don't know if I even told you this, one of my friends was a bit like, you have to choose words for the year. What are your words going to be? And I chose focus and fun. And ironically, you know, my business was nothing like that back in January, but now it is. It's focused and I'm having fun because I'm not having to work, you know, 60, 70 hours a week trying to think of new stuff to say all the time. And I'm just concentrating on my messaging, which we nailed as well. The messaging was a really important piece. You helped me with that. And I'm sticking to what I know I want to do. And whenever I'm networking and somebody goes, oh, have you thought about doing this? It's like, have you been listening to me? You know, everybody's always got a bit of advice, haven't they? But if they're not your business coach, thank them, but carry on doing what your business coach tells you to do.
And that's a big piece of advice, because a lot of people are, you know, they'll hire somebody and then they'll still go, but I'm also going to take the freebie from this person and the piece of advice.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. What was the point in hiring the expert? Like, you're just, you know, it's like taking your car to a mechanic and being like, actually though, could you have this little monkey sat in here? Because I think he'd be great with a spanner. Like, you know, be wonderful for my windscreen. So for you as well, one of the big things that I thought was huge, you know, that was kind of when I saw a big shift in you, was when we started talking about taking deposits for work.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh,
actually,
deposits.
And I actually doing it. And I remember you being like, yeah, so, you know, they don't want me until this date, but I asked them for my 25% deposit or whatever. And I'm so proud of you, because so many times we open up our pipeline and we make it really difficult for ourselves, because we're like, yeah, we've got that work guaranteed for October or whatever.
Yeah, but of course it's not guaranteed. Right. If they haven't signed a contract, so I've got contracts now as well that I can use. If they haven't signed a contract and they haven't given you unrefundable deposit, then it's not guaranteed. So it's really important when your lead time is long to get some skin in the game from whether it's a personal client or an organisation. You've got to take a deposit, otherwise it's not really in the pipeline. It needs to be in your possibles as opposed to your, you know, probable work. Yeah,
100%. So what would you say, you know, if you could give in 3 bullet points to anyone, what would you say the biggest changes have been for you, you know, and your business, either or? Yeah,
so I think tracking my numbers. So when we spoke in January, in terms of income and expense, I wasn't tracking my numbers because I just didn't want to know. You know, I did not want to be anywhere near that information. But tracking my numbers now is exciting. And, you know, like I said, the work is a trickle at the moment. It's not a flood, but I know it's going to build up. And I love putting that stuff in the pipeline and seeing the Excel spreadsheet build. So I love the numbers. I think, like we were just saying, it is really important to follow one person's advice. And even though we're not working one-to-one any longer, I'm not subscribed to anybody else's list or in anybody else's groups. I'm still sticking with you because the stuff that you tell me works. So I'm not going to get distracted. And I think the other big change for me is that I am 100% consistent and focused with the way that I'm working. And the 3 groups that you give us to look at for our targets in terms of revenue, visibility, and learning and development, those are the 3 things that I look at every week, every month, every quarter. And that really helps me to stay focused and on track as well.
And this is the thing, and I mean, from a personal perspective, I want to be really clear about this on the episode, is that you are an exceptional person, not in terms of being a menopause ninja, even though you're that too, or in terms of, you know, suddenly got this weird like mind ninja trick to convert every client, but in terms of actually showing up and doing the work. You know, I work with, well, we said this at the beginning of this podcast, right? You know, I work with a lot of people. Some people come to me and they go, yeah, I'm going to take a ton of action, and they don't. And I'm always very honest. I'm like, well, they're not going to get the results. I can't help that. I can't sit at their desk and do it for them. But you are one of those rare people who actually says, yes, I'm going to do everything you say.
Yeah, no matter how scary it is. And some of the stuff is really bloody scary that she asks you to do, at least the first time anyway. But if you just balls up, you just man up or ovary up or whatever you want to call it and do it, it becomes less scary each time you do it. And suddenly it's routine and it's part of your system. Yeah.
And that's the thing. So if you are like Julie, if you're thinking, actually, okay, I need steady income, don't be afraid to just go out there and change things up. You know, don't be afraid to look at what's working, what's not working, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, and start looking at it accordingly. You know, yes, everyone has a Facebook.
And being brave enough to do differently from what everybody else is doing. So even now, you know, when we're in the dotties, I'm in the minority in terms of the working with organisations, but I'm still not being distracted by what everybody else says. You've got to stick with the plan.
And that's it. Yes, everyone's got a Facebook group. Yes, everyone's got a podcast. Yes, everyone's got a YouTube channel, or this or that or the other. But you don't need to.
No.
One of the big things that we've been focusing on the Jotties at the moment is your one thing, your one platform, your one niche. And actually it works really well, because you do, like you have seen on LinkedIn, you get exponential growth. I mean, your engagement on LinkedIn is like...
I know it skyrockets. My articles get shared and liked and commented on. Like I was saying to you before we started recording, I meet people out and about who haven't necessarily commented on the subject because they're feeling a bit awkward or embarrassed about it. But they've been following me for ages, and they know they can remember more about what I've posted than I can.
And that's it, and we are talking about the menopause. We're not talking about Julia stood outside of her mansion on her Lamborghini with a big old M painted on the front.
Yeah, I know. Who would think you could make a business out of the impact of menopause at work, right? How niche is that? And so again, for anybody out there who's afraid of niching, you really need to do get specific and niche on what you're selling. And menopause at work, if I can do it with menopause at work, you really can do it with whatever lights your heart up.
Exactly. So where can people find you? Because you've actually got something really exciting going on at the moment that I want you to tell everybody about, because I think it's huge, and it is going to be changing industries and certainly companies massively over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. So, employers are taking a greater interest in health and wellness topics like stress and mental health in the workplace, because there's a lot of robust data and evidence about how it can impact employee productivity. But what there isn't there is a lot of evidence about how menopause can impact productivity. So I'm creating my own, and I'm looking to pull together some data to help raise awareness and support for women experiencing menopause symptoms at work. So I've created a survey on SurveyMonkey. And if you are a woman who is or was in employment while you're going through the menopause, I'd love for you to help me out by completing my Menopause at Work survey. We've already got quite a lot of responses flooding in. There's already some trends emerging, and it's going to be really useful to help raise awareness around this topic and make it a subject that not just women can talk about or older women talk about, that the younger women and the men will start talking about too. And the link for the survey it's surveymonkey.co.uk/r/menopause at work. It'll take a maximum of 7 minutes to fill in, and it's completely anonymous. But what you're able to give the information into that survey is going to change things across the UK.
And that is huge. So if you are going through the menopause, if you have been through the menopause, if you were working during it, please make sure you go and fill out that survey, because it is something that really can help people change their businesses, their organisations, but also the experiences that they're having at these places. Even if you're building a side hustle, it might take you a year to get out. So whilst you're there, you might as well make it pleasant, right?
Yeah. Filling the survey. What we're already seeing is that, over 60% of the women who've completed it so far have said that menopause is having a negative impact on them at work for over a year. And yet 70% of organisations are offering no support at the moment. So, the evidence is emerging already, how much more we need to do in this area.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And we're on, to put this into perspective for all of you who are like, yeah, surveys. I never do them in my business. This is day one of your survey, and you've had shy of 100 responses.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know my target was 100 and I'm nearly there already. So I'm going to keep it open for a month, because, then we can watch the emerging trends over the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be really useful for benchmarking. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I would never have been brave enough to do something about that a few months ago either. But now I feel like I really am an expert in this topic, and I can talk about it confidently. And people are sitting down and listening to me, or standing up and listening to me. Either way, it's great.
Well, I'm really proud of you. I'm really, really impressed. And I think for 5 months' work, it's a super solid outcome. And it just goes to show that it doesn't have to take you years and years to build your business. You just need to focus on the right things.
That's it. And get the right coach.
Amazing. Well, there we go. You heard it here first. Julie Dennis taking menopause mainstream across the UK with her survey. We've got that at the bottom of the show notes for you. So if you are, like Julie says, if you're a woman who's been through the menopause, who's going through the menopause, who's been at work through the menopause, that's the important thing. Please make sure you do us a favour and go over there and, complete the survey. It'll take you 7 minutes. And obviously, if you've enjoyed the conversation between me and Julie today, it's always nice to go and just do something for somebody else. So make that survey the thing that you do today. And if you've enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit the iTunes subscribe button so you don't miss another one. And we'll see you in the next training.